This week I wanted to have a quick look at this poster I did for the Mint 400 Desert Race, which was on this weekend in fact. The tricky thing about this job was that there were several objects that all had to be arranged in the same scene and fit together nicely. With a bit of practice it's not too difficult to draw a single item from different viewpoints and imagine how that would look, but as soon as you add more than one object then there's an infinite number of different compositions available to you, and also it takes longer because you're drawing 4 objects instead of 1 object each time, so to sketch each one of those out takes longer. So I used an interesting technique to get around that, to speed up that part of the process. The reason you want it to be quick is because your job may only allow for 3 days work or something, and you don't want to spend 2.5 days getting to the point where there's some rough artwork to look at. You want to get there as quickly as possible so that your team, which up until now has only looked at a text description, can finally see some actual pictures and explain to you what they like or don't like, and what they want changing, and what they want to keep. So the clever technique I used for this was to use virtual reality and the Gravity Sketch software. And it's hard to explain if you've never used it quite how it is, but it's completely immersive. You're in this 3D world. It just feels like kind of real life, I suppose, and you can draw in the air around you. So your brush strokes, you swing your arms around and you leave lines in the air that hover there, and you can adjust those, you can reposition them and scale them. It's quite magical, really. Compared to typical 3D software, it's much more intuitive, it's much quicker to work with, because you're not constantly switching between different viewports to try and position things in 3D space. You're actually looking at 3-dimensional objects in front of you. So it's just much easier to work. So here you can see it hasn't taken very long to draw a few key lines of the vehicle and produce a kind of wireframe model of the vehicle, one of the vehicles that I need to use. The only slightly distracting part is that you can see right through it, it's transparent. So I've here on another layer filled it with simple blocky shapes that act as a kind of a mask to hide the lines that I don't want to see. So once that's done, I need to make the other 3 models in the same way, and then I can bring them all together in the same scene and start doing the fun part, which is to play around with some compositions. So here are all the vehicle models, all in the same scene, and now I can look at this from any angle I like, from far away, from close up, from above and below, wherever I want to go. And you can see this is how much quicker this would be than trying to sketch all of these different views. And I can grab hold of these individual models and reposition them, and I know that they're always going to be correct scale-wise and perspective-wise because they're all in the same scene together, reacting to the same camera. In this scene I even went a bit further and started to mock up a few foreground landscape elements, but I didn't end up using these in the final image. They were just a bit too complicated and too cluttered. It narrowed things down too much too early on. But what I can show you here is that I'm using a kind of virtual camera. It's in the scene. This is my viewfinder, this rectangle, and on the right hand side I can change the field of view. So just like changing the lens on a camera, you can use a telephoto at 90mm, or you can zoom out to the other end of the scale and use sort of fisheye 6mm lenses and everything in between. So you can not only change your camera positions, but also the type of lens that's on there. So you've got a huge range of options. So these are the images that came out from the screen grabs. I had to do a few versions for landscape versions of the poster and also for portrait format. And once I'd picked my favourite, I could then take the image into a drawing app, Adobe Fresco in this case, and add all the other elements that also needed to appear on the poster. So hopefully you can see from that demonstration how using virtual reality really sped up that awkward part of the process and allowed me to explore sort of really interesting camera angles and things, and to get to this point where we had some rough artwork for the clients to look at. Once the client had picked their favourites, I could go on and make them look beautiful, but that's the subject for the next film. Hope you enjoyed that. See you again soon.